This piece of oak is what we'll be using today. It is left over from the nightstand build, and you can see it's got kind of a crook to it. So I ran it on a joiner to get me a flat edge, and we're going to go ahead and take it down to 3.5 inches. Let's do that. I set my table saw to 3.5 inches, and that was just enough to cut that crook out of it. We don't need it, we'll throw that part away. And as always, we went over to the joiner and we'll joint one side of this before we run it through the planer. That way we get a good flat edge. Now, over at the planer, it only takes a couple of passes to clean this up real nice, and it's ready to go. So we went ahead and cut it to length before trying to lay it out on how I'm going to sand this out and make it look like a barrel. Well, a board from a barrel anyways. So I figured we'd use a table saw to cut off as much of this as I can. I went ahead and cut the corners off. I left it about 1/2 inch from the angle, and then what we're going to do is we're going to sand that end round. Well, kind of round anyways. And looks round to me. So now we got to start on the other side. So I started out with my new Shopbox sander. Now I've been getting a lot of use out of this since I bought it, but it wasn't enough. I had to put some 40 grit sandpaper on my orbital sander, and that wasn't doing it. So I switched over to the grinder. I used a flapper disc on the grinder, and that was able to help me get down to about where I wanted to be. So after a saw, a sander, a grinder, we got what looks like a bit board, like it belongs to come off an oak barrel. Now we gotta drill some 1 3/4 holes. Unfortunately, I do not have an 1 3/4 Forstner bit, but I do have a 2 inch, and that works just fine. It ended up looking pretty good anyways. So the next thing is to measure out for the banding I'm going to be putting on both sides. Here's a little tip for you. When you're planning on bending something around, the best way to get a measurement is take a piece of tape, fold it over your sides, and then cut off the excess. Once you do that, you will have an exact length of what you need to wrap around the sides, as a tape measure does not fold around the sides very well. Then, once you have your excess cut off, you simply take it off your piece and well, my fingers ain't working very well. You lay it on the piece you're going to cut, and then that gives you your exact measurement for the piece you're going to be cutting. So, once you've got everything cut to length and bent as you like it, it's time to make it look old. The best way I found to make it look old is heat it up with a torch and soak it in oil. This took 3 or 4 heat treats and dips. I'm not sure if using a torch in a wood shop is a good idea, but it was cold outside and I wanted to be warm, so here I am. I'm going to go ahead and finish this before I put this banding on. You see there, I got a little Jaco bean, and we'll get that on there. This is pretty dark. I wasn't real sure I was going to like it, but after we got it on there and everything wiped down, it looked pretty good. It wasn't as dark, I don't think, as what she wanted, but I couldn't find the espresso stain. After the torch and the oil, that banding is kind of scaly. So we're going to sand it down and clean it up a little bit before putting it on the flight. I just used a little bit of Scotch-Brite and a little bit of sandpaper, and it cleaned it up real nice. This only took a few minutes. So to create the ribs in my tin, I took a piece of pine and some 1/4 inch rod I had from somewhere, and I created some indents in the pine. Then I taped my tin to the pine and then taped my rods to the tin. Open up the vise, a little squish, flip it over for another little squish, and just like that, I got nice little ribs in my tin. We'll straighten it out here a little bit, and look at that. Time to put them on. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to drill metal and wood all at the same time, but it likes to move around a lot. So I went ahead and I taped it to my board. That way it would hold it in place a little bit. And then, once I got it all taped down, I was able to start drilling. Well, kinda. Like an idiot, I forgot you have to punch metal or else your drill bit will walk. So, I went and got my punch. You make sure you punch all your holes when you're doing metal, because your drill bit will walk all over the place and your hole won't be where you want it. So here's a little tip when using little tiny nails or little tiny screws. If you cut a slot in the end of a straw, you might want a sharper blade. But if you cut the slot in the end of a straw, then you can insert your nail into the straw, and therefore saving your fingers and your thumbs from repeated hammer marks. And then once you get it started, just hammer it on home and it'll work great. No more busted fingers. So once we get all 4 of these put in, then it's time to put on the cutting board feet. I probably didn't really need cutting board feet, but you know, it raises it up a little more and gives it a little more attention to the bow and the board, I guess. But I think it looks nice. So, when making something for your wife, you got to have options. This was the first option shot down. This was the second option shot down. This, third option. This, fourth option. Fifth option. So, we landed on this. Looks pretty good. Now, those weren't the only options. She didn't want the brass nails, so we used some old-timey carpet nails. They look pretty cool. I like them. So, let's get the glasses on here and finish this up. So here we are, another project finished, and the wife will be able to display her new whiskey and glasses awful nice. Now, if y'all don't know, this is the Sassenach whiskey. This is by Hugh Graham or something from the show Outlander. My wife is a huge fan. You can get this online. This set comes with a couple of glasses with the Sassenach logo on them, and the bottle got the Sassenach logo on it. But she wanted a way to display it, and this is how we turned out. Put a couple of cutting board feet on the bottom. We got our old looking tin, and the saying here is in Scottish. It means we are ready, or I am ready, something like that. Now she's got some tartan ordered to line the bottoms. And for those of you who don't know what a tartan is, it's plaid that they use in kilts. And should look pretty good. There are other ways to make flights. There are whiskey flights, there are beer flights. You can do them in 2 glasses, 4 glasses, shot flights. You can check some of them out. I got some posted here and there. But that's all for today. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.